A well-known local restaurant owner, Robert Bobby Salazar, has been arrested on federal charges and was booked into Fresno County Jail today. He is now facing serious charges of arson in connection to a fire that took place at one of his restaurant locations. Fox 26 News reporter Myra Franco has the latest details on this investigation and more on what else is now unfolding from this case. Myra?
Monty, authorities allege that Salazar orchestrated a fire at one of his vacant restaurant properties on Blackstone Avenue by hiring a motorcycle gang to set it. It led to a massive insurance payout claim totaling nearly $1 million. Tuesday afternoon, investigators responded outside Bobby Salazar's restaurant in the Tower District, where the location was closed off with police tape. A neighbor told Fox 26 undercover officers raided the site around 6 a.m. Around noon, the U.S. Department of Justice released information that the 63-year-old owner of the business, identified as Robert Bobby Salazar, was arrested and booked into the Fresno County Jail on arson-related charges. Fresno attorney Roger Bonactor gives us a detailed breakdown of the case.
So what we currently have is a 23-page complaint filed by the U.S. Attorney here in the Eastern District of California, which is here in downtown Fresno, alleging that Bobby Salazar violated two federal laws, the first being arson of a commercial property and the second being arson in furtherance of a federal felony.
Court documents reveal Salazar hired the president of the Screamin Demons Motorcycle Club, Thomas Qualls, to set fire to his vacant restaurant property located on Blackstone Avenue in 2024.
Law enforcement finds certain people visiting the property multiple times on the night of the fire. They use surveillance camera footage and cell phone data to figure out who was coming and going in that window. They then use the cell phone data to tie it back to members of a biker gang known as the Screamin Demons Biker Gang. One of those individuals gets arrested.
Investigators found partially burned gas cans inside the restaurant and extensive fire damage inside. Insurance had paid Salazar nearly $1 million for the claim. He is now being accused of lying to his insurance about his involvement.
Well, apparently his insurance company didn't take his word for it that this arson was a random act. They put him through what's called an examination under oath, where he had to be sworn and answer questions about the arson and what he was doing with the property. Apparently the property was occupied by a tenant, but the tenant wasn't able to make it there, so Bobby had taken it over in 2024. He'd renewed the policy of insurance, and even though that it was vacant and he wasn't trying to rent it out, had even gotten coverage for loss of rents on the property. Then somehow this building catches fire.
Bonactor shares one of the key breaks in the case that he says ties Salazar to this crime.
They then find cell phone records where Bobby had communicated with at least one, if not more than one, of these biker gang members and people that are alleged to have been involved in this arson. So from there, they dig deeper, and apparently Bobby even answers the question directly if he knows these people. He denies knowing them or ever talking to them.
Qualls remains in Fresno County Jail facing charges of arson along with possession of firearms and ammunition by a felon. If Salazar is convicted, he faces a mandatory minimum of 5 years in prison and a maximum of 20 years for commercial arson, along with an additional mandatory 10 years of arson and furtherance of a felony. But that's not all. The arrest is just the beginning of a much broader investigation, with officials now digging into other suspicious cases connected to Salazar. Monty, sending back to you here in the studio.
All right, thank you, Myra. Looming large tonight over Bobby Salazar's arrest Tuesday, not just the details and evidence of this case as outlined in the federal criminal complaint released today, but perhaps even more damning, the hidden history now being brought to light of what may be a long litany of arsons, investigators say, all connected to Salazar. The fire at a vacant Bobby Salazar's restaurant on April 2nd of 2024 is now casting a light that's drawing the attention of investigators to a series of past incidents, all involving suspicious fires, and, they say, all connected to Salazar and people he knew.
Law enforcement then continues to look further, and they find other instances where there are arsons that involve someone associated with Bobby.
Instances, says attorney Roger Bonactor, all laid out in detail, with photographs, starting on page 17 of the federal complaint.
There was a 2020 civil lawsuit where an employee had alleged wrongful termination by Bobby. Somehow, apparently, that individual's vehicles were firebombed by Molotov cocktails.
According to that complaint, even family was not immune.
Bobby Salazar's former brother-in-law, apparently his property was damaged by Molotov cocktails.
Nor lawyers either.
Apparently, a lawyer representing an employee of Bobby Salazar's had his office firebombed by Molotov cocktails.
All that history now reemerging to impact Salazar's most recent case and literally coming back with a vengeance.
The complaint, which goes to great lengths to describe all this, builds up at arriving at the conclusion that is the basis for the charge.
Salazar is due back in court tomorrow. Switching gears now, many